Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Śrī Kṛṣṇa. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class, which is from Canto 3, the status quo, Chapter 2, Remembrance of Lord Krishna, and this morning we're doing text 25. Without further ado, we'll start the class. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadhari, Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadhari, Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana, Jamuna Tira Vannachari, Jamuna Tira Vannachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadhari, Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadhari, Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana, Jamuna Tira Vannachari, Jamuna Tira Vannachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Privajagacharya Stottara Satasishri Maharaj Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shiro Pariki Jai Nitya Pavishta Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Privajagacharya Stottara Satasishri Maharaj Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai, Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai, Jagannath Swami ki jai, Ganga Mayi ki jai, Jamuna Mayi ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Samaveta Bhaktavinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga Parishad. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Jeta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Siddhatmani Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Jeta Namini Narayana Namaskritya Narum Chevam Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Utirayat Nashta Prayesva Badvesu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamastuki Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, Text 25. Vasudevasya devakyāṁ jāto bhojendra-bandhane cikīrṣur bhagavān asyāḥ ajenābhiyācitaḥ. Vasudevasya devakyāṁ jāto bhojendra-bandhane cikīrṣur bhagavān asyāḥ ajenābhiyācitaḥ. Vasudevasya devakyāṁ jāto bhojendra-bandhane cikīrṣur bhagavān asyāḥ ajenābhiyācitaḥ. Hare Krishna.
वसुदेवस्य देवक्यं जाते भोजेन्द्रबन्धने चिकीर्षुर्भगवान् अस्यः शम् अजेन अभियाचितः. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna.
vasudevasya devakyam jāto bhojendra-bandhane cikīrṣur bhagavān asyāḥ ajenābhiyācitaḥ. Hare Krishna.
वसुदेवस्य देवक्यां जातो भोजेन्द्रबन्धने चिकीर्षुर्भगवानस्य शम्जेनाभियाचितः. हरे कृष्ण.
हरे कृष्ण. वसुदेवस्य देवक्यां जातो भोजेन्द्रबन्धने चिकीर्षुर्भगवानस्य शम् अजेनाभियाचितः. हरे कृष्ण.
We do word for word now. Vasudevasya, of the wife of Vasudeva. Devakyāṁ, in the womb of Devakī. Jāta, born of. Bhojendra, of the king of the Bhojas. Bandhane, in the prison house. Cikīrṣur, for doing. Bhagavān, the personality of Godhead. Asyāḥ, of the earth. Sham, welfare. Ajena, by Brahmā. Abhiyācitaḥ, being prayed for. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. The personality of Godhead, Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, being prayed to by Brahmā to bring welfare to the earth, was begotten by Vasudeva in the womb of his wife Devakī, in the prison of the King of Bhoja. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Although there is no difference between the Lord's pastimes of appearance and disappearance, the devotees of the Lord do not generally discuss the subject matter of his disappearance. Vidura inquired directly from Uddhava about the incident of the Lord's disappearance by asking him to relate Krishna Katha or topics on the history of Lord Krishna. Thus Uddhava began the topics from the very beginning of his appearance as the son of Vasudeva and Devakī in the prison of Kamsa, the king of the Bhojas at Mathura. The Lord has no business in this world, but when he is so requested by devotees like Brahmā, he descends to the earth for the welfare of the entire universe. This is stated in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 8. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushkritam dharma samspanataya sambhavami yuge yuge. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnana Ganashalakaya Chakshu Amritam Jena Tasmai Śrī Gurave Namaha. Śrī Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarini. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gulatise Namaha. Jaya Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Jai. Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we'll do the translation again, the English translation. The personality of Godhead, Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, being prayed to by Brahmā to bring welfare to the earth, was begotten by Vasudeva in the womb of his wife, Devakī, in the prison of the King of Bhoja. Hare Krishna. So, in one sense, this particular text is straightforward. It is still Uddhava that's talking because Vidura has inquired now about Krishna after inquiring about Vidura's own family members and those that he associated with when they were growing up, the Pandavas and so on, and those in Dwarka. And now he inquired about Krishna, and Uddhava is now speaking about Krishna, and Krishna is unlimited. Topics about him will always remain unlimited. So there's so much to say. And that's why almost like a couple of paragraphs, not a couple of paragraphs, a couple of chapters, remembrance of Lord Krishna, are devoted to Uddhava's statements. Uddhava is a very close associate of Krishna. So whatever Uddhava would say would have tremendous value for us also. But he started from the beginning of Krishna's descent to this material world, particularly to this earth planet, and even more particularly to Mathura and the prison house of the King of Bhoja, Kamsa, who had actually stripped his stepfather of the crown, and he had taken over the rulership in Mathura. Ugrasen was the king before. But anyway, as Uddhava says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Śrī Kṛṣṇa, was prayed to by Brahmā to bring welfare to the earth. Well, why did Brahmā pray to Krishna? He prayed to Krishna because Mother Bhumi, the earth mother, took the form of a cow and literally went to beg Lord Brahmā to do something about the horrible conditions on the earth. Sound familiar? The demons, whenever they have power, they start bringing trouble because they hate Krishna. They want Krishna's position. They always want to be the controllers. So that was the situation at the time that Madhabhumi had had enough and wanted a change. So he went to Lord Brahma. This is thousands of years ago. And Lord Brahma went to pray to Lord Vishnu, Śrī Vishnu, and the message that he got was that she and the other demigods, because when Brahma went to pray to Lord Vishnu, the demigods followed him to the ocean of milk, the bank of the ocean of milk. And then Śrī Vishnu, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, told them to take birth in the Yadu dynasty, and that he himself, Krishna, would take birth also. And this is what this is being described here by Uddhava. So there's obviously details, quite a few details about it, but this is a summary. The sentence, the translation itself says how Krishna took birth through Vasudeva in the womb of his wife Devakī. So it actually, a little bit detailed, it actually was not your regular way of conception. Krishna came first to the mind, as Radhanath Swami explains, to the mind of Vasudeva, then to the mind of Devakī, then to the womb of Devakī, or the stomach, the belly area of Devakī. And then he appeared. And he appeared in his 400 Vishnu form. Little baby, but a 400 Vishnu form. Carrying all of the articles that are carried by the four hands of Lord Vishnu. It was Devakī still scared about how Kamsa had killed 6 of the children, first 6 sons born to them, Vasudeva and Devakī. So she was worried that this 8th son, the 8th child, would actually be killed by Kamsa. So then he did one thing. He requested that Krishna change the form. The Lord changed this 400 form to a regular baby, which he did, because devotees, when they're very, very connected to the Lord in love, when they request something, the Lord would usually hear and make adjustment for whatever it is that's been requested. But then the Lord also told Vasudeva and Devakī that Vasudeva should take him to Gokul. So that night, Krishna performed his magic. There's nothing to him. All the prison doors opened, the gates opened, all the gods were put to sleep, very deep sleep. Vasudeva had a basket, put Krishna in the basket, and walked right out of the whole deal, the building, and kept walking that night towards Gokul to give Krishna to Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda. So this is all part of the pastimes all arranged by Krishna. So this is the appearance of Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada says that there's no real difference between the Lord's pastimes of appearance and disappearance. Why? Because the Lord doesn't die. So he appears and then he disappears. But there's no death for the Lord. So the devotees generally don't discuss the subject of his disappearance at any length, even though, of course, when he wraps up his pastimes, he does go to another situation in the material world and performs the pastimes there. So it's a disappearance going from one planetary situation or universe to another. So Vidura actually kind of give a general description of the general question, asking Uddhava to describe, Krishna's, the whole incident of his disappearance, but just related to the whole Krishna Katha, the whole history. Don't say only the disappearance. Why? Because at that time, Vidura wanted to know who was around and who had gone from the whole family. So he could have asked the same thing about Krishna also. Is Krishna around, or is Krishna disappeared? Or Krishna left by some way? But then, since it was Krishna, and Krishna Katha is the best thing to hear, then Vidura said, well, talk about everything right from the beginning. And Uddhava did just that. And so that's why we're hearing about the King of Bhoja and Mathura and so on, what happened. This is Kamsa. And I know I did mention that Ugrasen had the power stripped from him. He was the king. And I mentioned Ugrasen as the stepfather of Kamsa. So the situation of the birth of Kamsa is interesting. Ugrasen, and so we'll tell the short version of this. Ugrasen and his wife, and if I remember his wife is Padmavati. They took, in American terms, what you would call a vacation. They went to a place around the mountain where the view was spectacular. Wonderful flowers and so on. This is the top part of the mountain. And so his wife was there, and his wife got quite excited and was just, looking at the different places, admiring the landscape and all of that, and then pulled a little bit farther away from her husband, Ugrasen. And there was a Gandharva, because a lot of the Gandharvas, those in the heavenly planets, also come to the mountain. Just the same thing, to also chill out, from speaking in American terms. So, and of course, those people, they're quite hedonistic. They involve themselves sexually and all of that. It happens especially in Swargaloka. So anyway, he saw her, and Padmavati is very beautiful. And he began to feel some lusty feelings for Padmavati. Padmavati, again, Ugrasen was not there at the time. He was in a different place. So he approached Padmavati, and he could change his form. So this particular Gandharva changed his form to look like Ugrasen and approached Padmavati and demanded sexual relationship from her. Of course, Padmavati was thought that she was looking at her husband, the husband's request, so Padmavati complied. But it was during the act that Padmavati found out that this can't be my husband, because he normally doesn't handle me that way. This person is different the way she's touching me. So then she questioned him. And this person had to admit that I am not Ugrasen. So she got very upset with this particular personality. Anyway, that's what gave rise to the pregnancy. So it wasn't under auspicious conditions. And usually when they're not under auspicious conditions, the soul that comes out is a soul that's not auspicious. He is not a devotee. So this is how Kamsa was born. So Ugrasen decided to not only allow the pregnancy to go to full, of course they weren't doing abortion at that time. So anyway, and it's a very demonic thing to do anyway, even now. So yeah, Padmavati gave birth to Kamsa. And Ugrasen decided not to have the matter be a big to do that disclaim him and all of that. No, so he just decided to be fatherly to Kamsa. So that's why he's a stepdad. So Kamsa is not Ugrasen's direct son. Anyway, So he took over, the king of the Bhojas. He became the king of the Bhojas, imprisoned Devakī, Vasudeva. Krishna got born there. He imprisoned Kansa also, Ugrasen also. Srila Prabhupada is saying here, the Lord has no business in this world, but when he's requested by the devotees like Brahmā, then he will come to the earth for the welfare of the entire universe. And that's why I stated in Bhagavad Gita, he comes to excite and protect the devotees and also annihilate the demons. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushkritam. And then we establish the principles of religion if it's been compromised. So millennium after millennium, if that happens, then he would also deal with the situation in that way. So the Lord is very compassionate towards even those of us here in the material world. Material world is the separated energy of the Lord. He has really no business here. As Srila Prabhupada said, the Lord really has no business in this world. Everything he does is spiritual. So what would he do in the material world then? But he comes because we are here, conditioned souls, and he wants to get us interested in going back so that all our suffering would be mitigated. It would be gone. There is no suffering in the spiritual world. And so when devotees like Lord Brahmā request that he come for a reason, a good reason in the material world, he would do that. Because he also knows that when he performs his pastimes, some people will get interested and want to be with them. So by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we have become interested in Krishna consciousness. It is a big, big, big advantage for us, an advantage for everyone to model his life after Krishna consciousness rather than deal with the material energy. And for that matter, who better than Narada Muni, to discuss this? So the other day we talked about Narada Bhakti Sutra, and I think did Sutra number 38. Today we'll read 46, and if we have time, 47 also. So Narada Bhakti Sutra, and the reason we're bringing it up is how to get out of the material world, this illusory world. So number 46, kastarati mayam yasangam tyajati yo mahabhanubhavam sevate nirmamo bhavati. The translation is, who can cross beyond illusion? Then he answers it, one who abandons material association, that's number one, serves the sages, number two, and becomes selfless, number three. So there are three things in this particular sutra that helps us. These three things will help us to cross beyond illusion. That is, basically get out of the material world, which means go back to Godhead, to the spiritual world. One who abandons material association. That's why Lord Chaitanya, when he was asked, who is a Vaishnava? He says, a Vaishnava devotee is the person who does not associate with non-devotees. But some of us, because of work, we wind up associating with non-devotees or being around non-devotees. Two things. One, you give your association to them. You don't take the association. Stay with the work that needs to get done, not the social aspect of it. The material social aspect of it. Don't involve yourself with that. In other words, do what is necessary and do your work very well, material work, because it also gives a good impression about the person who's doing that, about us as employees. And that speaks well about our character. And therefore, if later on somebody wants to know what we are associated with spiritually, then we can talk about ISKCON, we can talk about Krishna consciousness, because they already see that this person is principled and this person is in a mode of goodness. At least they'll see it that way. And we'll take the advantage when they ask. So, material association is only as necessary. Otherwise, we don't deal with it. Our social activity should be among spiritualists, especially devotees. So, serving the sages, next thing, for us is very simple. Serve the devotees. serve the devotees, and then become selfless. Selfless means the opposite of selfish, and we all know what selfish is. Everything for me. That's a selfish person. A selfless person is, I'm ready to assist everyone else. And in fact, I'll put their needs first before mine. If we put our needs before everybody else's, we're being selfish. If we put everybody else's needs before ours, we're being selfless. So, Narada Muni says, the one who can cross illusion, beyond illusion, get out of this material world, is the one who abandons material association, serves the devotees. He said sages here, but for us it's the devotees, and is not a selfish person. Srila Prabhupada in the purport to this sutra says, we can compare crossing over Maya, which is illusion is Maya, compare it to crossing an ocean. So at the time of the death, at the time of death, the conditioned soul has to migrate to another material body. And even if he is born on a heavenly planet, he still has to suffer repeated birth and death. And heavenly planet is not made out to be all that people who want to go to, I feel sorry for religion and say, I'm going to heaven, I'm going to heaven. They don't realize that even wars go on in heaven. When Arjuna went to heaven to get the demigods, Ashta's weapons, he had to fight for Indra. Indra had a war going on. And it's even mentioned how many soldiers that Arjuna killed. 60,000. 60,000 soldiers died when Arjuna was in the heavenly planet. Muchukunda, another very wonderful Kshatriya, king, very good at fighting. He was also summoned by the demigods to fight on their behalf. So this is all the demigods in the heavenly planet. So when they're supposed to be fighting, that means the war is going on in the heavenly planets. And nobody wants to be around war. So there's no point going there. Anyway, so to cross the limits of this ocean of repeated birth and death, the only way to cross the limits means we should have the aim to go back to Godhead. Now, sometimes it's made difficult. We make it difficult because of material desires. And our material desires will plunge us back into this whole ocean of birth and death. But Krishna, through Lord Chaitanya, Krishna's Lord Chaitanya has made the process easy. First, he says, though, Krishna himself says in the Battle of Kurukshetra, telling Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, Daivyesha gunamayi mama maya durataya. Mamivaje papadyante maya mitatarantite. He says, this material energy, this divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, is difficult to overcome. He admitted it. Krishna has admitted it. But he says, those who have surrendered unto me, they can easily cross beyond it. So to cross beyond it, we have to surrender to Krishna. And the surrendering process is what Narada Muni is mentioning in this sutra. We have to renounce attachment to material things, associate with great souls, and become free of possessiveness. A person who is selfless is free of possessiveness, because possessiveness is selfishness. I want for me, I want for me, I want for me. So there are other favorable methods, but these especially are one that we should try to stick to, try to live our lives, mold our lives according to that. But then we have to also understand that the ocean of Maya, illusion, is very vast. And if we try to swim, we really cannot swim across this ocean on our own. Not possible. So how does things get done? Well, in order to cross, when we are sincere in our devotion, then Krishna comes to the rescue. Krishna is very kind. But we are in this material world opting to fight Krishna's power and wanting Krishna's position. So we've come to the material world thinking that we can control things here ourselves. Then we're finding out that it's actually quite difficult to live here and that we are an illusion thinking we can control things. Nobody can control anything in the material world. Material world beats everybody up, whether we like it or not. Determines a lot of things that happen. Determines what the weather is, and we make mistakes and all kinds of accidents happen and we get sick and others give us trouble and the weather gives us trouble. We're not in control. We can't be in control. But there is a way to get out of the material world because the material world won't change for us. The only way is to swim across. But if the Lord leads us, then it is possible. And how does the Lord lead us? Because we are here, we have to prove to the Lord that we want to do things according to what He wants. You see, if a prisoner is supposed to be given parole, he has to prove to the authorities in the prison that he is a model prisoner who obeys the things that are said to do. And if he becomes disobedient, well, then he stays in the prison or maybe transferred to another prison, but he'll be in prison anyway. So that's why we have to put our foot forward in a manner of speaking. Show Krishna that we want to serve and surrender to Him. Then He comes to our rescue. This material world, this whole thing of Maya, it's from Krishna. So for Him, it's not difficult to do at all. So He tells Arjuna, for our benefit, those who worship me, giving up all the other activities into me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engage in devotional service. For them, I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So, give up all your activities, other material activities, and surrender to Krishna. Means you do activities, but you put Krishna in it. And this morning, I'm just talking personally, there was sometimes some songs that I know about, Kami songs, come into my mind, but immediately my intelligence kicks in. You can't sing it like that. And for me, it's fairly easy because my background in music to change the words and to make it Hare Krishna Mahamantra words for the same tune. And quite frankly, I can confess that I tend to enjoy it quite a bit because all of these songs that were well written, you take it and put the Krishna mantra in it. And then I try to arrange it in my head. Not everybody could do it, but anyway, the whole idea is Prabhupada has allowed us that if you're singing any tune, as long as you're singing with the Hare Krishna mantra, that's all right. That is all right. So everything that you do, activities, make it, as they say, Krishna eyes that activity. And those who are devoted to Krishna without deviation, for them, Krishna says, I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Now, we're going to say something that to some of you may sound controversial, but when you think about it later on, it's not controversial at all. We have, we come across pictures of Krishna in certain poses, and sometimes it's triple bending form. He's got a flute. Sometimes there are peacocks and cows around him. Sometimes he's with Srimati Radharani. Sometimes he's with gopis. So many pictures. We all know what Krishna looks like. Yet, for most of us, there may be one particular picture that becomes our favorite. First of all, there's nothing wrong with that. If you see a picture, for whatever the reason is that Krishna is in it, Krishna is the main personality drawn in the picture, and you like that picture very much, blow it up. Make it even bigger. And then put it in the place where you normally spend most of your time at home. Make sure it's there. Why? Because you're helping the mind to remember Krishna. When a particular picture is whatever, for whatever, maybe the core of it, or how Krishna, whatever the reason is that you tend to like and you attach to that particular picture of Krishna, because you like that picture so much, you begin to like Krishna more because of the picture. So make sure that that picture is big enough, and it's also at a place where you spend most of your time, because that would help you remember Krishna even more, just because you like that picture. And if you like that picture, chances are very high you're going to like that picture because of the beauty of the Lord. And remember, there were soldiers that went from the battle of Kurukshetra directly to the spiritual world because they faced Arjun, therefore they faced Krishna. Because if you face Arjun, you're facing Krishna. And they saw Krishna's face. And they fell in love with the beauty of Krishna. And that was enough. That was enough to go to the Vaikuntha planets. They didn't have to go to the Brahmajyoti or any the heavenly planet. No, they went to Vaikuntha planets because Krishna is that kind. So take advantage of the pictures that have been drawn by Krishna, and one that, for whatever the reason is, appeals to you the most. Make sure it's around you most of the time, because you will look very, very much favorably to that picture. Not just, okay, another picture of Krishna, another picture. No, that one you like very much. Make sure it's around you. Whatever the reason is that you like. And Srila Prabhupada also says, simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. By doing that, a devotee of the Lord can approach the supreme destination easily and happily. But people in other religions, they can't do that. They cannot go to that destination of the spiritual world. So we can't stress enough the importance of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra all of the time. Whatever you fall in love with, that's what we're saying before we said this. Whatever you fall in love with, whatever the reason that makes you connected to Krishna more, make sure that that particular reason is the reason, or make sure that that thing is around you. Because it makes you look with favor. In other words, we're asking to trick the mind, because Krishna's picture is the same Krishna everywhere they paint. We know what Krishna looks like. But sometimes the mind can latch on to one particular thing for whatever the reason is. But it will make you remember Krishna more. So take advantage of that. And that way, Krishna will help us to cross the ocean of Maya. Now, there's also Narada Bhakti Sutra. We just did 46. There's also 47, but I think I'll hold off on that one because there's something else that I wanted to talk about today. As we're doing this process of yoga, Bhakti Yoga, to our advantage, it's a big, big, big advantage to us, because we are setting ourselves up for enjoyment beyond what anybody can even dream of. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the same canto and same chapter we're on. Canto 3, chapter 2. But text 11, the previous text, we're in 25 today. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada, just like to remind us, because we've had it earlier, but it's a very, very, very wonderful statement that Srila Prabhupada made that would help us to even get more excited about going back to Godhead. He said in the spiritual world, unlimited arrangements are made for the unlimited pleasure of the living entities. We know that service is done out of love for Krishna. Service to Krishna is done in the spiritual world. We serve from our hearts. But don't think that it is only for Krishna. That's why Srila Prabhupada said, unlimited arrangements are made for the unlimited pleasure of the living entities. This is the longer way of describing the nature of the soul. The soul is Satchit Ananda. Ananda, the happiness is because there's unlimited arrangements made for varieties, unlimited varieties of pleasure. So when we're serving Krishna, we're also enjoying. But in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text 1, again in the purport, the Prabhupada says that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. And then he says we are enjoyed by Krishna. But in the process of being enjoyed, we also enjoy. So we are subordinate enjoyers, whereas Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. And so this other statement that unlimited arrangements are made for the unlimited pleasure of the living entities, that connects directly with the enjoyment that we go through when we're serving Krishna. So it's all enjoyment and no anxiety. Why wouldn't we want to go to a place like that? But we have to develop certain habits. And one of them, as it said in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, text 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, the very first word in text 8 is amanitva, humility. So we have to be humble. Then how does one become humble? Well, there are certain things that you do and certain things that you don't do. So there are some ideas that came by praying to my spiritual master that I've put together. And it is on chapter 18 of a book that will come out maybe in a few months. This is written by yours truly, it's by me. It's on humility. The book is called Humility, the Silent Virtue of the Wise. So we'll read the very last chapter, which has 11 tips on humility in our daily lives. We won't read all 11 because we won't have time. But how do you incorporate humility among in the situation where there is a dispute? Incorporating humility amidst dispute. So when a problem arises, this is Bhakti Maharaj taught us. I've just basically expanded on it and put it in this chapter 18 of the book that's coming out soon. When a problem arises between us and someone else, we should be ready to discuss this problem, one, only when the other person is ready to hear. In other words, we have to look at their mood first. Are they ready to even listen? So if the person's mood seems to project the likelihood like there will be a confrontation, then that time is not right to have that discussion. So at that time, our sense control is important. That means we shouldn't just lose it, like it says here, lose it and then start acting crazy. No. We should be able to control our senses and watch the other person's mood. Are they ready to hear? If they're too angry, that's not the time to talk. You apologize and then you hold off. There are other ways to deal with it. So we shouldn't act explosively, because if the person is upset and then we also act explosively like that, upset, then what's going to happen? There's going to be a permanent breakup of whatever relationship was there in the first place is going to be breaking up. Now we won't even look at each other. And then we become aparadhis. Because when a devotee sees another devotee, you're supposed to say Hare Krishna and smile to them. But now we're upset, therefore we don't even look at a person. We don't say any Hare Krishna. And that's wrong. So now that's when the person is not open to hearing. But if the person is open to hearing, then we can talk to them. But at the back of our minds, we want to approach the discussion in such a way that at the end of the discussion, there are no hurt feelings harbored by the other person. So it's not just a question of talking, but you have to approach it in such a way that the person does not feel that they are being put down. You don't hurt the feelings when you're speaking to that person. That should be the primary aim. So we have to be following this discussion. Whatever we say, we have to give the utmost level of respect to the other person, the other person's feelings. We have to have more respect for the other person's feelings when you're saying it. And remember, the super soul is sitting in the heart of the other person and is hearing everything that we say. So if we give utmost respect to the feelings of that person, that mood alone, in most cases, will help the other person to become more relaxed. And now the conversation, even though it's a controversial conversation, becomes easier to deal with. Hmm? So the person will probably show a cordial mood towards us during that discussion, only because we have in the back of our mind, I don't want to break the relationship with this person, even though I'm going to discuss something that's controversial. A humble person is the one that approaches controversies like that. So it means that the words that we use should be carefully chosen, wisely chosen, and mild words especially should be used to replace any abrasive words that may appear in our minds. Even if the words appear in the mind, we want to tell this person, you're a first class fool and this. Never use that. No insults. So, first, one of the ways to approach it is that if we know something good about that person, then it's advisable to start by mentioning those good traits about that person and praising the person for those good traits. But if we don't know anything that is good about that person because we don't know them much, it's still good to start out by greeting the person with a very warm smile and inquire about how they're doing. Then after we do that, then whatever good that we know about the person, well, we can say, but if we don't, at least we have met them in a very nice and cordial way. What works best, though, is that if you have something good to say about that person, and it's not hard for devotees to find something good to say about that person. It's not hard at all. Even if we're having trouble, we can pray, make a quick prayer to Guru and Krishna to give us something good to say about that person, and start with that before we go into that. The person is relaxed by that time if we do that way. And controversies are just pushed aside, and the conversation is likely to go well. Then we choose mild words. But if in the middle of talking, suddenly the person's mood changes and he becomes defensive or negative, then we need to apologize and end the conversation. In other words, if we apologize, we say, in one sense, we're saying that I'm the one that my speech caused you to get a little more defensive, so I'm sorry about that. Maybe you can talk about it another time. Hare Krishna. Then you end it then, because you know that the mood has changed in the other person, and if you go forward, now most likely what they're going to say back to you, you're not going to like. Okay, so if we don't stop it, then there's a great likelihood that the conversation will turn into a confrontation in which both parties would regret. So that's one way to deal with when disputes happen. A humble person deals with it that way. So as we're doing Krishna consciousness, as we've been advised by Narada to be selfless, the three things that he mentioned in Sutta number 46, and we'll go to other sutras as one by one as we reach them. This one says, abandon material association, serve the devotees, and become selfless. And now we also know a little bit about when there's a dispute, how to discuss it, the mindset of the devotee, us, what the devotee, the mindset should be when we're having a discussion with the devotees, and also be sensitive to the words we choose, and also sensitive to the mood of the other person when we're talking. And that way, we will not be offensive, even in situations where it's kind of controversial because we're discussing something that is part of a dispute or disagreement. So we wish everybody well. The Prabhupada is rooting for us, and he's written so much. And if we take that process seriously, bhakti process, then we're going to cross this ocean of material existence, birth and death. Śrī Prabhupada ki jai. So, this is the time to unmute yourself, dear devotees. And if you have questions, If you have comments, you certainly can bring those up at this time. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Okay. Shane, Hare Krishna. Jai. Please go ahead. Accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Śrī Kṛṣṇa. Hare Krishna, Shane. I'm not hearing you, so.
Oh, sorry, I was still on mute. My bad.
Yeah, I know that
Hare
happens.
Krishna.
That's a common mistake. We all do.
Please
Okay, go
accept my
ahead.
humble obeisances, all glories
Jai,
to the
Śrī
Prabhupada.
Kṛṣṇa. Jai.
I asked this question a while back, but I didn't quite word it correctly. I was wondering, when you mentioned that the upper planets, they still have battles going on, so heaven's not really worth going. I was wondering why they allow, like why Krishna allows the battles to happen between the lower and the higher planets. Hare
It's not
Krishna.
Krishna that allows the battles to happen between these planets. Sometimes, now, well, first of all, understand this is that just because you're in a heavenly planet doesn't mean you're 100% pure. That's the first thing you have to understand. They also make mistakes. They also make mistakes. Indra has made his share of mistakes. Mm? And when that happens, sometimes, especially Indra, who's a king and should know better, when they make a mistake, then just like a teacher making a mistake in the classroom, all the students are affected. If the teacher writes something that's wrong on the blackboard, what happens? They all copy. They don't know, and they just think that it's okay, and they copy it because the teacher is the authority. But then they've done something wrong. So yeah, mistakes do happen. Wrongdoing, it happens in the heavenly planets. You like, I could give you some examples, but if we have time. But suffice it to say that happens. And we know that wrongdoing carries with it spiritual debits, and there is payment. You have to pay for something you did wrong. That's called the karmic reaction. And the karmic reaction, because of the karmic reaction, especially for the heavenly planets, then the demons who are in the lower planets are allowed to give the heavenly planet folks a little lesson to learn. And that's what happens. So it's not Krishna, it's just that those who are on the heavenly planets, when they do wrong thing, then they invite this kind of trouble to them, in the manner of speaking. Hare Krishna. Is that helpful? Okay, all right. I see your response to it. Hare Krishna. Any other questions or comments? There's a lot of things that have, unfortunately, in the heavenly planets. There's like Brihaspati was ignored. He's spiritual master for all of the demigods, and Indra was being serenaded and dancing girls in front of him, and in his palace. And Brihaspati shows up, and he's a spiritual master, and Indra is enjoying himself so much. He sees his spiritual master, but pays him no mind. And so Brihaspati, the spiritual master, left the arena, and as soon as he left, Indra realized that his spiritual master was upset with him. So he stopped the whole performance and literally told everybody that I've offended my guru for not paying attention to him. So let me go. I have to go find him and apologize. That was a mistake on the part of Indra. And Indra had to suffer. He was cursed by Brihaspati to become a pig. So these things. He's a heavenly planet. He's never mind a heavenly planet. He's a king of heaven, and he made that kind of mistake. And some of it's embarrassing. You think that people in heavenly planets would know better, but some of the things that he's done here, they do it in the heavenly planet. Every now and then, not people are just going on sinning all the time. That doesn't happen there. Wars are not as frequent as it is here, but they do happen. So that's the situation. Many religionists aren't aware of this. Hare Krishna. Any other questions? Okay, so we'll stop here And have a nice weekend. This is Friday. And of course, wherever you are on Sunday, go to your temple and associate with devotees. And hopefully, what we talked about with this dispute, how you handle it, you always have to handle it in such a way that it's in the mode of goodness, that the person will not get hurt, by your words. And you also have to watch their reaction. And if it's just getting bad, then there's no point continuing. It can be done at a certain time. There are other things that can be done, but we just only have time to talk about that part of it. Okay. Everything else, of course, is explained in the book, which will come later. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhishcha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you. Hare Krishna.